Good day, all, and welcome to another edition of Local Legislator Live at 11. I'm your host, Charles Gates. Local Legislator Live at 11 is a component of locallegislator.net, where our mission is to be the premier source of local election information in the United States and an advocate for the sustainability of local businesses nationwide. Our guests today are none other than, when I think of power couples, these two individuals are the epitome. When you open up the encyclopedia and you look up power couples, you will see Lawrence and TiJuana Gholson in highlighted in that space. Welcome, guys.
Well,
Hi.
thank you for having us, man. I really appreciate that, Charles. And
Uh,
I don't know if we can live up to that hype, but thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Well, I tell you what, you know what? When I first moved to this town, I heard about you, and then when I met you, I said, yes, they're it. They are
Oh, wow.
definitely, they walk the walk and talk the talk. But you know what? We're going to get right into this, guys. And for our listeners out there, we do stream live. We are live on Facebook, 11 to 11:30, 11:40-ish every morning, Monday through Friday, for a raw interview. And why do we call them raw? Because we just go for it. If we say something that ticks a nerve, we just go for it, because this is the deal, guys. We're telling it like it is, strictly the facts coming from the players themselves. So, Tawana, I want to start with you. What was it that inspired you to get into business, and how long have you been in business together?
Lawrence and I, we've been in business together over 20 years. Our children were children. They were little. They're adults now, and we have grandchildren. But my particular reason, because we had a plan, a life plan of, how we eased out into business one at a time. My particular goal was, or my why is, and has always been, my family. I always told my friends, when people ask me, Tawana, why did you go into business? Why would you take such a risk? Because, it is a risk to go into business and to take care of yourself. I say simply this: I'm buying my freedom. I was the chick, or I am the chick, that does not like anybody to tell me when to come, when to go to the bathroom. At that time, my children were children, so I didn't like having to act to go to ball games, act to go to their school to visit. I didn't like any of that. So for me, it was about my freedom, more so than anything at that time.
Freedom. Now, Lawrence, let me ask you. You have a unique spin on life coaching, where you have been more of a diversity and inclusion focused person. Can you talk about that, and also talk about the YOU factor coaching?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, it was roughly back in 1997. I was actually still active duty in the military there. Shout out to all of our servicemen and women out there. I became a certified facilitator, and one of my specialties were, and is very prevalent and necessary right now, to talk about diversity and inclusion. I've had the opportunity over the last month or so, obviously, to be involved in some conversations dealing with that, and I continue to do so. But that's how it started. It was really about dealing with any type of disparity when it came to the government. However, it translated throughout my life. Once I had gotten out of the military, I still continue to be a certified facilitator, small group. I deal with entry, mid-management, and upper management level, and just talk about issues that deal with diversity, obviously inclusion, racial issues, genderization, stereotypes, and just help folks to get over themselves. U factor coaching came about. One, it was really about me. I can only coach others after I learned to coach myself. What is it that people are really dealing with? People are really trying to find significance in their own life. They're trying to maximize their own space in this world, in this earth suit is what I like to call it. And it's not really about what you think. Life is not about the answers it's about the questions you ask. So it goes back to what Tawana was saying earlier about what's your why. And I find that by going that route with folks, because a lot of my folks come to me after they've completed college and they've worked in a career, and then somewhere around mid-30s, they decide this is not what I ever really wanted to do. So let's explore what you really wanted to do. Let's explore your why, and then work on that from the significance of you, and move you forward in your story so you can feel purposeful.
What is your why? Wow. That's a
Yeah.
question we all need to ask ourselves. And if we were
Yes, sir.
honest, what we're doing presently in life is probably not what we expect for ourselves. Now,
Yeah.
Tawana, let me ask you
Absolutely.
this. Talk about your annual Women's Business Symposium. What was the
Yay!
inspiration behind that? Look at your face light up. What was the inspiration behind that project and what happens there?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, the Women's Business Symposium is a movement by itself. And let me just add that it's not just for women anymore. Thanks to my husband and his lovely panel that came on the kickoff year, it's kind of like it's morphed into something else. Anyway, the Women's Business Symposium, which we call WBS, is a bridge. It's like a bridge in the gap between local government and the small business owner. Our focus that day is to bring those two sectors together to have a conversation about how important small business ownership is in the community. So we have our local officials, politicians come through, workforce development come through, and small businesses come through, no matter the size, and have conversations about, okay, thank you, first of all, for being in our city, because you're great taxpayers, number one. Number two, now that you're here, let us tell you, us as the local government, how we can work together and partner, and let us tell you the benefits that there are here in your city as a small business owner. And you know, it's so funny because a lot of business owners, I've heard it from people that were aspiring to be a business that came to the symposium, the people that have been in business 15, 20 years, they all said the same thing. I didn't know. I didn't know that I could get this kind of support from my city. I didn't know about government contracts. I didn't know that they had training or they had people to hold my hand in workforce development. I didn't know that. I didn't know I could go there and look for staff. And it was so eye-opening that that people just didn't know. You know, a lot of people have the dream of being a business owner, and they go out there and they be one, and they're in the island by themselves. Lawrence and I are guilty of it too. We were so busy doing business that we didn't realize what was going around, because the goal and the focus was our why, right? And my why was I got to, be there for my family. So I'm not thinking about all the extras. But what we try to do at the Women's Business Symposium is bringing awareness to that, show the local business and the local government how you work together. We work together as a collaborative. And I'm telling you, we had a great time. You know, not only did we had some celebrity guests there as well, but I'm gonna tell you, the most valuable part of that was people connecting with people in their community that they didn't know was there and they didn't know exist. So we had some great officials come out from different cities. We had Sabrina Wooten, who's like one of the trailblazers in this whole disparity study, from Virginia Beach City Council. We had the Honorable Vice Mayor Tina Vick. We had Angelia Williams Graves from Norfolk. We had like a collaboration of city officials come through. We even had Deborah Farley over at Workforce Development at Thomas Nelson. And they all came and they sat on different panels and they just shared with the audience what they do, like workforce development. These are all the benefits for you as a business owner. And the city is like, look, as a business owner, we want you in our communities. We want to sit down and collab with you. And it was such a great day and such a great conversation. So unfortunately this year, of course, because of this pandemic, it's kind of been pushed back. However, we're still looking forward and still having conversations with people about what the symposium stood for.
Well, you know, it's so interesting that you would say that, because the purpose and the reason we do this show is because people don't know what they don't know. For example, we had the ComRev, the Commissioner of the Revenue, Tiffany Boyle from Newport News on a few weeks ago. Who knows what the Commissioner of the Revenue does? Most people have no idea.
Taxes.
Right. Even business people, they just don't know. So that is so commendable for you to bring all of that under one roof. And we're bringing it into people's homes through this local legislative live at 11. As a matter of fact, thank you. On Wednesday, we're having Marvin Harris from the school board of Newport News. You want to know what's going on with the schools? It may not be pertaining to your city, but it'll be an umbrella idea of what's going on in your city from from a different perspective. So thank you very
That's
much
right.
for that. Now,
Yeah.
amongst all of that, you are also both published authors. Now, Tawana, I'm going to start off with you. Tell us about the
Okay.
books you've written.
Well, my first published book is called Girl, What You Gonna Do With Your Money? It's a business owner's view, a businesswoman's view of why money matters to women. And we in that book, I share my story as a small business owner and how I've maneuvered through our economic system, basically. It's very simple, very practical things. You know, I learned, Charles, that, you know, before we can get to, everybody wants to know, how do I invest? How do I do this? And how do I put my money here and there? But before you get there, you have to get to the basics first. How are you managing your home budget? How are you managing your spending? How are you managing your life? How are you living first? Because before you can manage other people's lives, because when you're a business owner, Charles, you are responsible for the people you employ. So that puts you responsible for their budgets. So before you can manage all of that, can you manage your spending, girl? Can you not buy that tube of lipstick and put that $5 in the bank and save it for your goal and for your dream? So I'm just having an honest conversation with women in that book. And out of that came the teen book. People were like, oh my God, I would love to have learned this when I was young. So me and my team, we dissected it and we created the teen book and the children's version for our babies. We're covering the whole family. Then I started hearing, well, y'all forgot the men. So I talked my sweetie into, because he's really the author in this family. But let me tell you, he's the writer in this family. So I talked my sweetie, I said, honey, the men are asking, they're asking, what about us? So my husband, and he'll tell you a little bit more about the way he framed his, which was genius. He did the male version. So we're covering the entire family. Our idea is to bring financial literacy to the entire family, things that we weren't taught, that we're hearing from 99.9% people in this nation, that I wish I was taught that in school. So we're trying to be a part of that change and that movement, that economic change.
Now, Mr. Genius, let's hear from you.
Look, I could sit and listen to her all day, man. Absolutely. My very first book is a book on establishing and assembling a winning and influential team, and it's called Writers, Readers, and Runners. Obviously, it's based out of scripture, what talks about he who writes the vision, make it so that he can have readers and runners, basically. And in business, that's what you need. You need to be able to write the vision and make it so plain that anybody who comes alongside to work with you on your vision, whether it's an employee, a contractor, or a volunteer, that they understand, one, what it is that you're trying to do, two, how it is that you expect for us to do it. So I deal with the culture. And out of that, that is how we ended up on the Women's Business Symposium talking about teams. Aligning a team, you need certain people on your team if you're going to be a business owner. You need your accountant, you need your attorney, you need your tax advisors, you need these people to help you to be able to establish yourself. You need your insurance folk, you need your wealth strategists to be a part of your team so you can understand where you're going and you're not just out there flapping in the wind. You got business cards, you got your LLC, you got a SCC on your wall, but can you really sustain, not just monetize, but can you sustain the money that you bring in? And obviously in our community, make sure it continues to circulate within our communities longer than 6 hours. You know, so
Right.
that's the second book, obviously, as my wife stated, came by way of her book, Girl, What You Gonna Do With Your Money? The male counterpart to that is called Mind on My Money.
And my money on my mind.
You know, and we understand what that feels like when you say mind on my money. Automatically in the back of your mind, if you know the song, if you know anything about hip hop, you know the lyrics that go along with it. So what I did was use language that makes it practical for men to understand, because men speak a different language. We're having the same conversation, but we're speaking a different language when it comes to how to convey that to one another and to cut down on the frustration. So what I did was broke it down, and I used things that I know men are associated with. I talked about car engine, starting your engine, what it means to comparing oil change to your credit report. So it's very symbolic, but it makes practical sense because I wanted to make it to be a book where you can put in your back pocket, go to the gym, go to the sauna, on a break at work, you can pull it out and read it. And the goal is not for you just to read my information, because I share a lot of my personal experiences. Because if you talk about being raw, I'm very honest about what I had to learn, the learning curve, and the things I had to unlearn more so than anything else. So that was the second book. And the third book actually will be out, actually is in production now. It's called You Factor. And it's kind of a spinoff of the team building book, but it talks a little bit more of how I've even evolved as a business owner, serial CEO to this point, and the peaks and valleys, the ebbs and flows that go along with all of that. And hopefully the goal is, what all of our writing is, that to give folks something they can put in their hand that's tangible and real. We know we got these wonderful textbooks that we get in college or whatever, but this is stuff that's happening with us right now in this day and time, and hopefully you'll be able to benefit from what we're sharing, our mistakes and our successes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Outstanding. Now, it's funny you mentioned those needs as a business owner. We put a blog out, I would say about a year ago, saying that every business needs to bail. BAIL. They need a banker, they need an accountant, they need insurance, and they need legal representation. And there's a lot more, but we summarize it as bail. So it's interesting you would put it that way, and we wholeheartedly believe in that. And if you are listening,
we call it the winning team.
The winning team, I like it. Now, Lawrence, talk about your professional development services you offer.
Okay, with You Factor coaching, what I do, and like I said, I do individual and I can do group, depending on what the needs are. Once we do an assessment, once you come to me, and I openly admit, I'm raw. I'm not for everybody. When it comes to being a coach, my goal is to, one, specialize in results. Two, to add value. And if I can't do either of or both of those, then I may not be the person for you. So I'm a real coach. I'm like a football coach. You're going to feel some pain in this conversation, but if you stick to it, you're going to develop some muscles and some fortitude to move you forward in the trajectory of where you really are trying to go. And I do that from an individual standpoint as well as a group standpoint. Depending on if I'm coming into an agency, an organization, they will give me some backdrops of what it is that they really need, and I will base it around that. So I deal with the culture of a person, but I can equally deal with the culture of an organization, because organizations have a culture too. And it depends on what they're trying to subscribe to, how we need to. What is your end goal? What is the end game, Mr. and Mrs. CEO,
right.
Mr. and Mrs. Manager? And that
your exit strategy.
Yeah, that would give me information to be able to support and undergird that. So I keep it very practical, very real, and very relevant. And you're going to hit TiJuana, that's one of our mantras: practical, real, and relevant. That's what we're going to do in anything that we do.
Fantastic. To our listeners out there, if you like this interview, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, connect with us on Twitter and Instagram, and like our Facebook page. And remember to leave us a comment telling us who or what you would like to hear from in the future. We will do our best to get that person or those people on air. Now, TiJuana, I know Lawrence mentioned serial CEO. What does that mean? Serial CEO.
Okay, so I have my own little definition of that, Charles. I actually tried to look up a definition of that, because we do use that term, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't sort of like a catchphrase. You know how everybody comes up with a catchphrase and everybody's using it, buy the block, nobody's really doing anything with it. You don't have a real definition. So I didn't want to just say a catchphrase. I'm gonna tell you what one of Lawrence's definition of serial CEO. It's a really serial business owner, because a CEO could be the owner of the company or not. Could be someone hired by the board, a CEO. But what we're referring to are serial business owners. Meaning, for me, my definition is you have more than one business. If I was to put a number on it, 2 or more businesses, and you're serial. You're someone that is going out there planting businesses or acquiring businesses, more than just the business that you maybe initially started. So that's what I consider a serial CEO. Maybe you want to jump in and
Well, you pretty much have summed it up. It's not so much about just juggling many businesses. It's about being able to find a measure of success in all of your businesses that you're doing. Because, you know,
Right.
we know there are a lot of people who have a lot of different businesses, but are you really successful in it? Which means, are you able to accomplish your mission? Are you benefiting from your relationship with the government? Are you providing housing, employment, all of those things that the government comes alongside of us and say, hey, we will partner with you as a business owner if you will help us to offset these community needs, because that's the most important. Are you meeting a needs? FNAFI,
Yeah.
find a need and fill it.
The info.
That's what we believe. That's a principle that we use in business. FNAFI, finding a need and fill it. If I cannot fulfill a need, then why am I doing it? You know, just to have a title, that's not important to me. But
Right.
being a serial CEO or a serial business owner means that you are serious about providing opportunities, not just for yourself and your legacy, because it's really a legacy building, but you're providing a needed service in your communities.
Again,
Charles, see
there's.
why I hang around this fella?
I see. He's a genius. What can I say? Now, TiJuana, I'm going to start with you. Can you talk about your money talks with the Gholsons and your real estate
Oh,
investments? Oh,
yes,
look
money
at you
talks with
again.
the
Ooh.
Gholson. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, you know, for some reason people want to see Lawrence and us together, I guess, because, you know, he's so smart and he makes me look good. And so we talk a lot. You know, he and I, we have great communication in our life and our marriage, always have. And then we have a lot of friends that we talk to. And out of that, you know, always with us, it's always a need in the community around us or whatever. You know, people are always asking us questions about this and about that. So we decided in concert with our books to just go live. We were planning this big old TV production and all that stuff before COVID, and then COVID came and was like, you know what? Just go live and talk to people. So, you know, sort of like the red table talk, you know, we're money talks, and we just sit around and we talk about things dealing with our money matters, our money issues, our economic. Right now we're talking excuse me, about Black consumerism, the importance of the Black dollar at this time, because we are seeing now in this pandemic with so many businesses, and not just small businesses, major corporations are folding, and we're wondering why. And I'm saying, what we as a community are wondering, why in the world would J.C. Penney's go out of business, for heaven's sakes? I was raised on pennies, as my grandma says, and it's because that dollar is not circulating the way it was. And particularly, if we do statistics, we are 1.2 trillion spenders a year, the Black dollar, that is. And that's a wonder why so many businesses are folding. So we're having those conversations in this time. And as time goes, we will develop our conversation to what the needs are and what our audience tell us. But right now we're simply concentrating on what are the effects of the Black dollar during this time in this pandemic. And we're having a great time having that discussion with different people, you know, officials and different business owners in the community, and talking to people about how they're staying alive and what they're doing to maneuver their businesses in this time, because we all have had to become creative in our approaches now, especially our restaurant owners and people that serve people that came in and provided foot traffic. They are really having to be creative right now and come out of their boxes. So we're talking about that stuff, Charles.
Now, Lawrence, could you share something about your real estate investments?
Oh yeah, that real estate investing, everything that we're doing is amazing, man. Because it was something we didn't get to this part, but I met TiJuana when she was 13 years old. So we have a history. You know, we not new to this. We are true to this thing. We weren't in a relationship. We just ended up becoming the best of friends back then. But what really got me and captivated me about the time that I was able to spend with T was I had crazy dreams. I'm an abstract visionary. I have crazy dreams, and when I would share them with her, she was like, yeah, and we can do this, and we need to do this. So I would have the vision, and she could give details, you know. So that was amazing for us, and that is really how we actually ended up in the whole real estate thing. Obviously, we've always, coming from humble beginnings like we both were, providing and having affordable housing has definitely been significant in our life. And if it was significant in our life, there were others like us whose lives is significant in as well. So we wanted to be a part of that. not just in residential, but also in commercial. We're in both. We're enjoying the learning curve, and it is a learning curve. We work in the counseling industry as our skill set. So being a real estate investor, we've learned that, wow, this is counseling. You're understanding the why of the deal. You're understanding the locations, and you're understanding what the government has set up in place, and understanding the psychology of it all to be able to, one, monetize it, obviously capitalize off it, but at the same time, fulfill the need of need. And that's as simple as it is. There's so many other parts to real estate that's a whole show by itself. But in a nutshell, that's why we do it. And it's really rewarding. It can be frustrating, but it's really rewarding at the same time.
And that's why we're buy and hold type of people. I know a lot of people like to flip, and God bless them, but we're buy and hold particularly because our why is to provide affordable housing. We want to make sure that people are able to live in good communities. So we specifically seek out houses in particular communities to make sure people live in good, safe communities, places where they will want to raise their children at, and also have good landlords, because we're good landlords. We don't manage our own properties. We're smart enough now. We're smart enough now. We weren't in the beginning, but we're smart enough now to hire property managers. but we speak through our property manager, and we make sure our people are very well taken care of. And it is just a good and rewarding feeling to be able to give someone a home.
Yeah, and for us, as a caveat, what we also do is, because we're life and business coaches, our renters have opportunities as time goes along. We have meetups. That's one of our life goals, is that, okay, you're renting right now. Let's talk to you about cleaning up your credit. Let's introduce you to a winning team. Let's bring people in so that as you go and grow and develop personally, your life would change down the road. So we have other parts that we play with our real estate.
And we accept the undesirable renter too. Sometimes, folks don't want to rent to returning citizens. So we have a relationship with, I go to the meetings because they're begging landlords to come at the sheriff's office, the Newport News Sheriff's Division. The case managers there beg landlords to come to just rent to their returning citizens. And a lot of landlords don't want to do that because they're afraid, because they have a record. But we open our hearts and our eyes to that. We also open our hearts and our eyes to veterans, and, to people that have a what do they call it? A limited income. We open our hearts to all of those folks to give them a chance, And I know there's people that burn people, oh, well, whatever. But we open our hearts to that. And I just believe that because of that is why we've done very well. We didn't have one tenant not pay rent during this pandemic. Let me add that. We had a strategy in the beginning of it to give everybody free rent in April. And with doing that, I'm glad that, we listened to the voice to do that, because it gave people an opportunity to get themselves together when we were put in the house on the executive orders. Gave them a chance to get their minds right around, I'm not going to work right now. How am I going to pay my rent? So we haven't had one late. And I really strongly believe, because we were proactive in the beginning, say, hey, you know what? We don't know what's going on. The government will put us in a house. Everybody get free rent in April. So God's blessed us to be able to do that, to be a blessing to other people like that. And that's that's our why for real estate, is to, help people that may not have a chance to live in a good community, live in a good community.
To be what we wish we had when we were going through our throughs.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Your whys equal caring. And that is something that is so missed in our society today. One last question for you. How can people find out more about you and your services? And can you share one of your many mantras with our listeners? Lawrence, I'll turn to you.
Okay. As my daughter used to say when she was younger, you can Google me. No, but our daughter had a mouth. Somebody wanted to get with her, and she was like, "You ain't got to find me. Google me. It'll tell you exactly where I am." But that's a whole nother story. So you have to manage that too.
That little girl.
It's easy, www.lawrencegholson.com. It would give you updates and information on everything that I have going on. I have also do a cigar and sips events specifically for men, and it still has a panel component to it with the bill, talking about team building. And I do that on purpose because when we do summits, I've learned that men in summits may not ask their questions. And it has a lot to do with pride and ego and not necessarily wanting to feel like everybody's paying attention. So when I do an event that is more, it's low key, it's been some amazing things that happen. I started it about 5 or 6 years ago. And what's happening is out of that, men have come together, one, ask questions one-on-one, and everybody's able to benefit from it. But they have formed their own networks and started businesses. They never knew each other. I brought them together and they are doing their own business ventures. But you'll find information on that on the website as well. You definitely can find us on social media, Facebook, U Factor Coaching. Just type in there and you'll be able to find it. Money Talk with the Gholsons, you will find us there. We're also on YouTube. You'll find us, we're using all of the platforms that everybody else is using right now, including this wonderful opportunity with Mr. Charles Gates and local legislator.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Listeners, I know your mind has been blown, and you definitely know what I was talking about in terms of them being a power couple. You two are indeed a power couple, and we commend you for everything that you have done, that you are doing, and that you will do in the future, because I know the heavens are just shining bright upon each one of you. For our listeners, make sure you tune in tomorrow, where our guest will be Shana Kabatsnik, the owner and founder of Fab Women out of Richmond. You don't want to miss that. She's got a heck of a story to share. And on Wednesday will be none other than Marvin Harris, Newport News school board member. Make sure you click with us. Make sure you connect with us. Lawrence, you got me discombobulated here. Make sure you connect with us on all the social media platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us every morning, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. when we come to you live via Facebook. Be sure to tag us, leave comments, let us know what you like, what you don't like. And if you want to hear from something, you heard both of them say during the course of this interview that people don't know what they don't know. They are bringing that to you. We're bringing it to you. But we need to hear from you. Who do you want to hear? What is that information that you're looking for, even from an election standpoint? Because that is our main focus as an organization, is to provide local election information. Who is running? Who is doing things? What do they do? Because a lot of people just don't know, and we want to change that. And again, our mission here at locallegislator.net via this Local Legislator Live at 11 show is to be the premier source of local election information in the United States and an advocate for the sustainability, and that is the operative word, especially in this day and age, the sustainability of local businesses nationwide. Lawrence, TiJuana, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We really enjoyed you. Listeners, again, make sure you tag us, make sure you comment us, like our page, tell your family and friends, tell your neighbors, even the ones you don't like, but tell them anyway. Guys, thank you for being here, and take care, guys. And remember, we're not global, we're local. Locallegislator.net. Until tomorrow, take care, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.